This is Ken Rutkowski, and you're listening to the Voice of Disruption. We're here to help you disrupt yourself by bringing people that are disruptors. And Jay Samit is joining us. And Jay's book, which you can find almost all over the world, is Disrupt You, which is over at jsamit.com. And Jay is joining us. Jay, you are a public speaker. You speak around the planet on disruption. And you work for what's called one of those big three. These are these consulting companies that every major brand in the world hires, right?
Yeah, it's a privilege to be part of Deloitte.
Deloitte, wow, that's a big name. What do you do over there?
Independent vice chairman, and I'm obsessed with digital reality, augmented virtual reality, and the impact it's going to have immediately on society.
So we know that, of course, Facebook bought with this one company, Oculus, for $2 billion plus. We don't hear much about virtual reality because it's not in the home yet. It might be, but it's not something we thought was going to take over the world by storm.
Yeah, virtual reality is the baby brother. Augmented reality is the big piece. You're talking about something that over the next less than a decade is $1 trillion worth of business.
$1 trillion?
$1 trillion business. It'll change. Today we spend 5 hours a day looking at the screen.
Okay.
This won't come out of the pocket.
It won't?
We'll have very basic glasses that look no different than these.
Okay.
That beam right to the back of your eyeball, and now you can have anything you want. So if I
fix your glasses.
So if I forget who you are, it can tell me who you are.
But that right there is glasses. I remember when Google Glasses came out, Google Glass, they look ridiculous.
They look identical. There's no difference.
You're telling me the new stuff coming out won't look like anything other than normal glasses?
Regular glasses. Because the difference is you're not adding a camera or anything to the front. You're taking a laser and beaming to the back of your retina. So it doesn't matter what your prescription is. Everybody sees 20/20 at the back of their eye.
That's a game changer.
Yeah, well, now you can know every flora and fauna. You can translate. You can walk through anywhere. We were in Cambodia together. You can walk through the streets and every sign will suddenly be in English for you. Every restaurant menu, so you wouldn't have eaten that dog. Anything you want to do anywhere
That's
around
Vietnam,
the world.
by the way. So are you telling me, I'm going to make sure I understand this, instead of us looking at our watches, our phones, our computers, our eye now becomes the new screen?
Right, but it goes the other way. Not only does it add objects, it'll subtract objects. You're walking through a supermarket. There's 40,000 SKUs. You suddenly want to go on a diet with no salt or no sugar. Every package with sugar disappears. Or your doctor says you have diabetes, everything you can't eat. So who controls that filtering? Which brands will you trust? What will be that relationship? Training changes and education. No longer do you have to train a person on a specific task. The knowledge will always be up to date here. So you can look at the car engine and it will know what's working, what's not working. The plane, the supply chain, keeping track of everything.
Okay, are the incumbents the ones, when I say incumbents, Microsoft, Google's, those companies, are they the ones that are controlling the fate of this, or is this disruptive companies that we haven't heard of?
Disruption is the most Zen-like experience. It's controlled by everyone and no one at the same time. So everybody has an equal chance to get a piece of this giant pie.
I like how you said that. Basically what Jay is saying is his company he works with probably works with all of them and he's not able to mention any of that. And I respect that, that's okay. But we're going to see this probably in the next couple of years. I know you're saying it comes out next year or this year, but mass adoption will take probably 5 years.
Less than 5 years for mass adoption. It didn't take the smartphone 5 years to become massively, had full penetration for reasonable business by 6 years. So mass adoption will be much, much quicker. But if you want to make this an opportunity to make your first billion, the time to start is now.
Okay.
Because the big guys who you mentioned are looking at the big giant pieces of it, okay? How is advertising? How is entertainment? How is games? How is travel? Big giant categories. But there's niches that nobody's focused on. And you can build up a business. If you think back to the history of the app, okay, 10 years. The first year, one of your top 10 apps was the fart app.
It was.
Okay? Made the top 10.
Flashlight app, fart app, right?
Okay. Not really game changers. But you could have started OpenTable. You could have started any of the 1,000 must-do apps that you have today.
Because those weren't there. That's why. It wasn't what was populated. It was limited.
Well, no one was thinking of there's new things that I can do, new problems I can solve.
Okay.
So now, what are the problems you can solve by always being connected, by always having information when and where you need it?
So this sounds exciting. It does sound a little further out than 2 to 3 years. That's just me watching this, okay? But it does feel like the TV show Black Mirror on Netflix.
But wait a second. If I sat down with you 11 years ago and talked about that you'd be in the future spending 5 hours a day staring at your phone,
I would probably say you're ridiculous and
Right.
crazy. You're right. How about this other area that you talked about? It's not the in-home experience, it's the out-of-the-home experience. What is that?
So in VR, where VR's gotten the most traction is out of home is changing. So we all love movies. Yet in the US, less than 10% of the population set foot in a theater in 2017.
Okay.
Okay? So the theaters haven't kept up with wowing us as something amazing. People say, I'll wait and I'll see it on my little screen or I'll see it on something else. VR can take you to another place. To do that, you need an awful lot of equipment, about a $6,000
To really get that
gear.
full effect.
Get the
right.
full, where you're feeling it, haptics on your body, on your hands and everything. So now you can go to new virtual reality theme parks that are spreading all over the place, where they may be characters that you know from the movies that you can now interact with AI behind them. They could be really scary, the true, haunted, scary house of the future, and everything in between. There are nightclubs and bars and theme parks, and they are springing up all over the place because people are looking for, if I'm going to go out of house and I'm going to get together with my friends, I want some experience. Today, it isn't about owning things, it's about sharing an experience.
It is experience-based, and I think the theater, if anything, they need something.
Well-
because 3D didn't do it.
But I'll tell you where they're waking up.
Where?
Theaters have lobbies. A typical big city theater will have over 1 million people walk through that lobby per year.
They're not monetizing it properly.
Bingo.
Yeah. So somehow turn that into another event.
Make that a VR experience.
If you look at the world today, the Tinders, the Facebook, the things that have changed society in so many ways, where do you see AR and VR changing society, like what Tinder and Facebook did?
So on how to hook up, best application, Google came out with their Pixel Buds this year, and the glasses do the same thing. You're traveling to if you're taking that gap year, okay, when your son gets out of school.
Right.
He's there in Zimbabwe, sees at the bar the most beautiful woman in the world.
Okay.
They don't speak the same language. He travels with 2 pairs of glasses.
Him and her.
Now they can hear and instantly get simultaneous translate in any language. You can fall in love anywhere in the world. Communication, the world becomes really small when we take away language as a barrier, okay? AR also takes distance away as a barrier because I now, when we go back to our different countries and we're in love and everything, I can go on to girlfriend mode and I can see what she's saying right now and talk. And as she's walking through the garden, I can see and share that experience.
I want to be in dad mode and watch what he's watching. That's what I want. So Jay, let's look at probably not the most exciting side, but you mentioned these big companies, and many of them.
You keep mentioning them.
Many of them almost curate and narrate the things we see. We've seen some big companies with their news feeds. Moving forward in the future, if they can do that now on what our computers have, how can they, or how do we prevent them from doing that when it comes to the world out there?
So the most important thing that a brand can have in the 21st century is trust. So if we're going to now be looking at the world through glasses that are not necessarily reality, who do you trust to filter that, to augment it, to add to it, to subtract to it?
I don't know.
And you're going to pick and choose brands based on that. So that becomes the key because we all need that information. We all want it. When you want to know what restaurants are good in this area,
I have friends.
right? But you may also look at different services
that's
and
right.
hope that that's an honest system.
I just get concerned when the news services that we watch, one is polarizing on one side and one's polarizing on the other side. And I'm worried that people are going to actually buy those glasses from one side and all of a sudden they see the world and it might.
But for 14,000 years of communal living, there's always been those that have had access to more knowledge than most people and have filtered what's disseminated.
Okay. Last thing before we go. You wrote a book.
Yes, disrupt you.
Hard thing to do?
No, enjoyable.
It was enjoyable.
Absolutely.
You're working on a second book. Can you talk about it?
Yeah, so Disrupt You is in 8 languages. I've heard from people, not to brag, but it's amazing to me, 140 countries. It's like, how do they find me? I just keep a list when a new email comes in. Greatest thing about being an author, you hear from people when you change their life. But there were certain people that said, oh my God, I came out so inspired and everything, but this couldn't be me. I couldn't do this. So I set out on the task of, what if I just do my own Pygmalion? Find somebody, a young millennial, didn't go to college, doesn't have connections, and in 1 year take them from couch surfing to self-made millionaire.
Wow.
And so I found a young man that I just saw had the vision. It was the diamond in the
You're
rough.
going through the process. This is not done yet.
We're 5 months into the year.
And it's working?
In the past, just to give you a thing, the most he, I think, earned in a year was like 35,000
In a whole year.
in a whole year. First month, 70,000.
First month.
Second month, 83. And I didn't open up my Rolodex, so this isn't gaming the system. This is just mentoring and teaching what's in Disrupt You to prove that anyone, anywhere can achieve their dreams.
So you're creating a real life workbook that has what the executional points are to achieve whatever that was. That his goal or your goal?
That was my goal. Oh, how he wants to do it is all his goal. But I'm putting my reputation and the reputation of the book on the line to say it can be done. These aren't ancient stories. This is teachable. Our schools have failed us in teaching us how to thrive in the 21st century.
Okay. All right. I did say last question, but one more. What would be the most disrupted place on the planet right now when it comes to technology, game changing, outside the box thinking?
Well, if the definition is successful unicorns creating from scratch billion-dollar businesses, California.
It's still here.
It's still California. Second to California is China.
And then Israel?
Israel's up there. You get cities like Berlin. Any place that has a crossroads of different cultures. It's about multitudes of ideas and different viewpoints and being able to harness those with new tools.
I like to call them epicenters of opportunity.
I love that title.
You got to bring them together, and by bringing them together, they come up with great ideas.
But there's been no better time to be alive and to have a chance to conquer the world.
It's a good time. It's a great time to get Jay's book right now, too. It's called Disrupt You, which you can find by going to
jsamit.com, anywhere online, and it's the language of your choice. Audible. People like to listen to this voice for 9 hours. I apologize. I grew up in Philly. I say America.
Jay Samit, and also if you go there, you get a companion guide, right?
Yeah, 40-page companion book for free if you go to my website, reach out on social media.
Jay, thanks a lot. Disrupt You, Jay Samit, Ken Rutkowski, Voice of Disruption. We'll be back.